All right, today we're gapping with Carlos King, host of Reality with the King, reality producer extraordinaire, just an icon in this space. And Carlos has had me on a couple times, sort of for a couple of last minute emergency episodes in recent months, I would say. And we've gotten some good feedback. So I figured it'd be time to have Carlos back on the pod to just talk about all the things. Carlos, how are you?
I'm Greg Gibson. I'm happy to be gabbing with you tonight.
Always. So you're in LA. You were just at Kathy Hilton's Christmas party. Give me some observations, some interactions. Give me the tea.
So I will say this: it was a great party. Kathy Hilton is an amazing host. She looked gorgeous. Lisa Barlow was a surprise performer. So on the invite, they broke down like red carpet is like 7:15 to 8:30. Then eight. The party starts at 8 to like 11, and then they said surprise performance at 9. So I'm like, it's either Jennifer Hudson, Kelly Clarkson,
Shut the fuck
or
up.
or Catherine McPhee. You know what I mean? I'm like, it
Yeah.
has to be one of those three women. But no, it was Lisa Barlow was the
And,
surprise
and
performer.
listen, I would arguably be just as excited to see Lisa Barlow perform Away in a Manger than
Yes, yes, and she did not disappoint. It was a great event. I will say this: the Salt Lake City Housewives are the nicest women I have
they
met in
are.
a long time. I
They're
mean,
amazing.
they all were like, it's funny because to be in that space, Gibson, and you know all about this. It's nice when you're able to fangirl with each other, you know? So, like,
Yeah.
Mary Cosby and Bronwyn and Lisa Barlow and Whitney and Angie K, they were all like screaming, like, oh, Carlos, whatever. And Angie K is so sweet. She said, do you like me? I said, I love you. What are you talking about? She said, you said things about me last season. I said, I will never attack your character.
Hmm.
I only talk about what I see in the show. And I called you Hurricane Angie because you go with the wind blows. So we were able to laugh at that.
Yeah.
Lisa Barlow was great. Whitney is gorgeous and sweet. Mary is Mary. And
Uh-huh.
but Bronwyn, I was shocked that Bronwyn was aware of like my
She's
podcast.
new
I'm
to the
like,
game. Yeah. Yeah.
because she's new. Broad ran down my resume to me,
Wow.
and I
She
said,
studied
"This
up.
is a girl who studied the genre, and I
Yes.
respected it." So no, it was a great party, and I saw James Kennedy.
Oh God. Mm.
Uh huh.
That
He
news
was
came out
there.
today. Did you see Allie too? Was he with
It's
Allie?
funny. The times I saw James Kennedy, he was by himself. He was
Interesting.
like not running. That's the wrong word.
But
Walking
yeah.
fastly by the
Huh.
party goers. Like it was like me and Heather McDonald. It was
Yeah.
like Gibson.
It-
You
everywhere
know
you
you
look, probably. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, but he was there, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Ugh, I hated that news. But I agree. I've actually had a similar experience with Angie, where it's like because I am such a Meredith guy, she thought that that meant that I hated her, and I was like, no, Angie, I have a place in my heart for two people who are feuding with one another. That's we're not mutually exclusive here, okay? So they are definitely like that,
Yes.
and they get the game too. I think they get that like this commentary is part of the it's part of the ecosystem, and it's part of the
Yeah.
deal, and they're good sports about it, you know.
They are. They are. So no, they were great. Married to Medicine girls with their Dr. Headley and Quad.
I
That
love
was
that they were there.
fun. Yeah, Dr. Wendy was there. Karen Huger was there.
She looked fabulous.
Looked fabulous, and she gave me a good old spanking with her words. And I just fell more in love with her after that.
I'm sure.
So it was a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
party. It was a
I
great
love
party.
that. And it's interesting because there was no, were there any Beverly Hills there? Which is bizarre.
I was searching for my favorite housewife, which you know is Kyle Richards.
Yeah. What's the
And
deal?
Kyle, Dorit, Erica, Jennifer Tilly, Sutton Garcelle, none of those girls were there. Not one
Makes you
Beverly
think.
Hills housewife was there. And I was honestly shocked. I expected to see, to be honest with you, just being real, I at least expected Sutton to be there.
Same.
You know what
I
I
mean,
mean?
she lives in the neighborhood, and
Yeah.
she goes to like all the parties, I'm surprised.
Yeah, none of them were there, honey. I don't know what that means, but none of them were there.
Okay, interesting. Um, not to be too shady right now,
Oh,
but we also
really?
No, not to you, but I'm kind of serving up a moment for you to maybe be a little shady. We had a product announcement this week that a lot of the Teresa fans had a field day with. Melissa
What's that?
Gorga,
Go ahead.
released a line of sprinkle cookies.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm all for a housewife to capitalize on, to sort of reclaim as something that's been said and to capitalize on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I want to know what your reaction was to that news.
I thought it was 2:42 a.m., which is late. I thought it was very late in the game. I thought it was after hours late. I thought it
Hmm.
was showing up to a wedding and you're not being invited inside of the venue late. I'm all about capitalizing on a product. Let's be clear,
Right.
but there's a word called capitalizing, and that means you capitalize in the moment.
Sure.
You don't wait 10 years for the moment to pass when your job's in jeopardy to sort of try to, rewrite history. I just listen. Everybody knows that Teresa is my friend in real life and I'm
Yes.
close to her. That doesn't mean I hate
We've had this
Melissa
conversation.
Gorga,
Yes.
right?
Yes, exactly.
I said it before and I'll say it again. Melissa Gorga was a great housewife for what she brought to the show, and you cannot take that away from her. And she's a stunning woman, and she's a great mother.
Yes,
And
of
those are things you
course.
cannot take away from her. Um, I just think this sort of business venture, if I'm being completely honest, which I always am, I just thought it was another situation where it was like you cannot get out of Teresa's shadows. You know what I mean? Because it's sprinkle cookies is something that Teresa made famous by popularizing the term due to her beef with Melissa. And if you are going to transition out of being in Teresa's shadows as her sister-in-law and not wanting to film with. These are things Melissa has said. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
want to
yeah.
come back on the show if Teresa's on there. I don't want to have anything to do with this woman. So I'm only saying because I want the audience to know I'm being fair.
Totally.
I'm only
You're
basing
being
this
fair.
off. Yes, I'm being I'm being fair. I'm a
You
fair
are. I'm
guy,
not
right?
I
Okay.
yeah. I'm saying
Thank
that
you.
truthfully.
Yes. So you can't escape that shadow if you are revisiting something that was popularized by the same individual you want to have nothing to do with. And Melissa is not an idiot. She's a very smart woman,
Hmm.
very smart. And I just thought it showed that, again, and I feel bad for Melissa. If I'm being completely honest, I feel bad for her because to me, it showcased that I want, and this is my advice to Melissa and her team. I want to know who Melissa is without being Teresa's sister-in-law. And I think Melissa
Valid.
has had chances of showing us like what businesswoman she is without any attachment to Teresa. So when I saw the business venture, I thought it was a step in the wrong direction.
That's very valid. That's very valid. I think that's I don't disagree with that. I think that being too late to it, I think is interesting, just coming not from you, from like the general tree hugger fan base, is like a lot of that fan base is also hung up on stuff from 12 years ago. And so like to say that she's too late when they're still talking, wanting an apology from Melissa to join the show. I don't want to rehash it, but like
Right.
we're all a lot of people that talk about this are stuck 12 years ago. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, um, I want to transition to Beverly Hills a little bit with you, Carlos, because you've had a couple of really interesting last two episodes of your podcast about Beverly Hills.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you were talking about it being sort of a Kyle takedown season,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there's kind of a theory that maybe it was originally going to be kind of a Dorit takedown season, but that Dorit put up an unexpectedly really valiant fight and was from the get-go is basically being like, fuck no, like I'm recharged, I've this energy has been dormant for a moment, but I'm recharged. Talk to me about sort of where you are right now in that, with that sort of dichotomy.
So listen, to me, Dorit is Jake Paul. You know, she's the Jake Paul of the show. And Kyle is Mike Tyson. And yes, I'm referencing sports, so bear with me, raindrops. Um, I know a little something something. So you know how we were all like, "Oh my gosh, Jake Paul knocked down the legendary Mike Tyson." We did not see that coming, and that's what we're witnessing on this season of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, as relates to two Titans at odds. And I strongly believe the other cast members who aren't friends with Dorit were going to use that opportunity, in my opinion, to take Dorit down, because Dorit hasn't developed any true friendships with anybody on the show outside of Kyle.
Right.
So if you base off of just like the mathematics of everything, right? Like Kyle has more people on her team than Dorit does. However, because Dorit has drank her whole milk,
She has.
ate her Wheaties, ate her Wheaties, used Tamara CBD oil. Like my girl was prepared for a fight,
She
and
was.
she's winning. And there's no one who's a bigger fan of Kyle Richards than me. I love Kyle Richards. I'm also just honest based on what I'm seeing. I am shocked that Dorit is winning, and I'm going to be honest with you, Gibson Johns. I am here for Dorit this season, and she's my favorite cast member this season. I still love
Yeah.
Kyle, but I feel like they got it wrong. They all underestimated Dorit.
And it's honestly incredible to see how much of like the sort of attention she is taking up, like, and people are obsessed with her right now, and it's like that is such a 180 from where we were with her at the end of last season. Like she's just totally flipped it in the best way for herself, and it's just like it's impressive to me, honestly. And it's not that we didn't know she had it in her, but I didn't know if she still had, if she still cared enough. I don't know, but I'm impressed by it.
No, I am too, and it goes to show you can't count her out. Like the grit she has, and the thing about it is, I fell in love with Dorit her first season, because who she is on this season now, that's who she was when she first started. I've always enjoyed the fact that she was completely honest, unfiltered, and just super brass in her approach to things, from like Pantygate to, like cussing out, Lisa Rinna saying, "If I could smell
Yeah.
your breath, you're too close to me." And I'm like, this woman is everything. So
Camille,
I
you're
knew
a
she
little
had it in
cunt.
her.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Yes, yes. I mean, exactly. I'm like, Dorit's everything. So I'm happy she's back. And I think Kyle's like, "Oh shit, I underestimated you." So
Right.
I see that they may make up in the next episode, and I hope they do, because I'm ready for Dorit to go after the other girls.
Who would you want Dorit to go after?
Sutton.
And can you explain why?
Sutton doesn't back down to anybody unless
No,
you're
she doesn't.
Erica Jane. And with Erica
Mm.
Jane, she gives.
Mm.
I mean, listen, you cannot sit me next to Erica Jane at a dinner party. And if Erica Jane tells me, "Shut the fuck up," I'm going to shut the fuck up. Dude,
Oh,
so like,
the mouth is zipped. Yep. Uh-huh.
yeah, oh yeah, I'm not saying anything, honey. You in that ponytail can read me my fucking advice, and I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Sutton has it in her. So to see Sutton and Dorit have it out, I am here for it. I think it's a evil playing field. And I just know that those two women, who are great additions to the show, I just know they'll give us some great television. So look, I would love to see those two girls go at it. Seriously.
Yeah. And I think we saw a preview of it sort of at the end of the trip that Kathy planned when they're in that Sprinter van. One is that I feel like it's more fun to watch than Kyle than Dorit versus Sutton is more fun to watch than Garcelle and Dorit, in terms like their fights aren't as fun to watch for me. I don't, even though they genuinely don't like each other. Like you're right, Sutton and Dorit go toe to toe in a similar way, and I also like that Dorit is sort of picking up on the idea that like Sutton gets away with a lot. She plays producer, she stirs it up, she doesn't have to share that much of her own life. and she's gotten away with that. And I think that Dorit, now that she's sort of in the role of like, my life is taking center stage this season, why don't you have to do it? I think that's kind of the subtext of it.
Oh, it really is. Listen, Sutton, I don't know much about her outside of
Right.
like, like she's from Georgia and
300K
she
a
was
month in
married
her
to.
divorce element. Yeah.
And listen, some will argue that's all you need to know. Like, I mean,
Period. Yeah.
come on,
Yeah.
come on. Hello. But listen, when you're on reality television, I want to know more. I mean, listen, to her, in her defense, Sutton did give us a dating storyline. Although I was bored to tears,
Me too.
I didn't like it. But
Mm-mm.
okay, she gave it to us, and that's more so than what other girls are doing on the show. So I'll give her that. I understand her kids cannot be on the show because the husband doesn't, he won't sign the release for it.
Got it.
So I know she's pigeonholed that way, but I still would like to know more about who she is. And I think Dorit is right in terms of if she feels that Sutton gets the coast, gets to like stir the pot and like, oh my gosh, I'm scared. Don't talk to me that way. What are you doing? No, the jig is up. I think Sutton Garcelle, I would love to see these girls
Yeah.
get in the
Is
mix.
Carlos,
I want to see them activated.
from your experience, Carlos, is that something that comes up a lot behind the scenes, which is like one person feels like they share a lot and they feel like their other cast members do not? Talk to me about like how evident that feeling is.
Every single reality show that's a docu series feels that way.
Mm,
You will have a girl or a guy, depending on the type of show that it is, who feels like, wait a minute, I'm giving my entire personal life to this show, and the woman next to me is giving less than half of that, and I should be okay that she and I are on the same bill. And by bill, I mean like we're in the poster together. We're
right.
maybe getting the same paycheck in some cases. That comes up a lot. And look, rightfully so. If you're signing on to the reality show, look, there's going to be a season or two where somebody has the better storyline, and that's one thing that every person will feel like, okay, it's my turn. Erica Jane gave us a
Totally.
two great seasons, and by great, not what she was going through, but just in terms of like content,
Compelling
right?
TV. Yeah. Yeah.
Compelling television. Kyle's giving it to us. She gave it to us last season with her, Mauricio, and Morgan. So every woman had their turn. Dorit in the hot seat. Let's be clear. Dorit coasted for a
She
while,
did. Yeah, she did. Yeah. It's her turn.
right? So it's her turn. I do think everybody should have that sort of, detailed storyline to where we get to get more out of it. And I understand why some of these girls may feel that way. And Gibson, it also explains why you see Erica Jane take a back seat this season, because in my opinion, she didn't say this, I'm saying this. I feel like Erica Jane is like, look, bitch, I gave y'all 2 seasons worthy of me being
I agree.
eviscerated. It's y'all turn. I'm gonna sit back and enjoy the television. And and
100%.
and you can't be mad at her for thinking
I
that this season,
I agree with
only
you.
this
Only
season.
one season. Yeah. And follow-up question to that, as a producer, do you, when somebody comes to you with that sort of complaint, are you like, is your response to tell them, okay, pull it out of them, or is it like to go to the other person and be like, you have to be sharing more? Like, what's the approach?
Great question. I believe in following the reality. So when I was a showrunner and my cast would say, well, I'm giving all this and she's not giving anything, I'm like, well, you telling me is it going to help the case because
Right.
I'm not on camera? And I will always encourage my cast, even today, if you feel some kind of way, you have a platform to say it. Like, just say how you feel. If that's honestly how you feel, you have every right to express that and to say it. And yeah, sometimes, it is this weird breaking the fourth wall that may happen because you can't say to Dorit can't say to Sutton, I'm giving more to the show than you did in 3 seasons. Because it's like,
Right.
well, girl, we got to
Yeah.
find another way to say it.
That's the
But
reunion. Yeah.
yeah, that's the reunion. Exactly. That's the reunion. But I definitely think there's ways to say it without having to go that far with it because it's a valid
It
feeling.
is.
It
It is.
really is. It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. So your podcast, I think last week, it got a lot of pickup because of you said you had heard from a source or two that who claimed that Dorit and PK separation is for the show, and they're just doing it to sort of get maintain the paycheck and what have you. And you said that you weren't sure if you believed it, but for people who
Thank
are
you,
listening,
Gibson. Thank you for saying that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But
yes, of
continue.
course, no, of
Go
course.
ahead.
But for people who like people listening to this who haven't heard that or seen that clip, because it did make the rounds a lot, but what do you want to say about it? How did it, like, because I feel like you presented it in a way that was like very much like this is what I heard. I'm not sure if it's true, but like I'm repeating it because it's alleged. But like, tell us about it.
Okay.
And did you get in trouble?
I had let's say I didn't get in trouble. I
Okay.
didn't get in trouble.
Okay.
I definitely got spoken to.
Got it.
I
Okay.
definitely okay. I and you know this doing a podcast. You say things and you
Yes.
hit end recording, you submit it to the episode, and then you go home. Or
Right.
like you go about your business. I received a phone call Saturday evening. And I'm telling you this first. A friend of mine said um that allegedly PK was mad at me. I got a text on a Saturday evening,
Okay.
and my episode dropped that Thursday. And I said, "Why is PK mad at me? I don't talk about PK. Like, what is?" And this person said, "Did you say that PK and Dorit are faking their divorce?" I said, "No. I said I heard that. I told them what I heard, and then I ended it by saying I don't believe it.
You
So
did.
no,
Yeah.
I said that's what I said. I said, but I don't believe it. But this is what I heard. And then I thought like, okay, that's just listen. To be honest with you, I said, okay, so PK heard my episode, and I thought it was fine. I didn't realize that it's because it was picked up because I
It was
just
shared a
don't.
lot. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't realize it was shared a lot across, and another exclusive for you. So at Kathy Hilton's party, a lot of people came up to me, whether they were housewives or just other people in the world, and were asking the same question. And I'm like, oh gosh, I did not expect this to get bigger. So
Mm-hmm.
I may be I may be seeing Dorit soon.
Oh.
And yeah, I'll tell you what happens if I see her within 48 hours.
Okay.
So I want to be able to say once again, I heard that they were faking it for a storyline. Okay, I did hear that. Just like we hear a lot of shit that is
Of
alleged,
course.
and I made sure to say alleged. I also made sure to say, I, Carlos King, I do not personally believe it. And I'm saying it again for those who did not share that part of my podcast. Um, I don't believe it, but I can understand. But at the end of the day, the reason why I brought it up is because I can understand why some people feel that way, courtesy of the fact that we did not see any signs that there were problems in their relationship. And at the end of the day, it's true. It is very odd that Dorit is telling everybody within earshot that her husband is an
Is an
alcoholic.
alcoholic. Right. Right.
That's
I see
jarring
that. Yeah. And I think
to
it's
see.
I don't believe it's for the show either. That's like not something I believe, and I because I feel like this visceral reaction that she's having is feels pretty authentic to me. But it's interesting that like Garcelle brought up on the show, like she questioned the validity of the home invasion, and people are sort of questioning the separation. I'm so curious what that says about like what Dorit and BK have shown us over the years that people like they almost want to believe that it's not real with them. And I don't believe either of those things are fake, but like it's just it's interesting that these two big things that have happened in her life for the past 4 years are being questioned. And I'm trying to unpack what that says. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and listen, I can shed some light on that. A lot of it has to do with the fact that nothing when it came to PK and Dorit, the moment they got on the show, courtesy of Lisa Vanderpump, right? Things seem to be a little bit odd,
Didn't add up.
right?
Right.
Yeah, it just didn't add up, and they never done a great job explaining it to us. I remember their dual interview where they both wore the prison stripe colors, which was like
Right. Right.
hilarious,
Right. Right. Yeah.
and they were explaining their side of all these accusations about like financial problems or whatever. And I strongly believe that interview did nothing for them. It did them no justice, and it questioned more things than it answered for us. So I think that Boy George living with them, everything always seemed to be a little bit odd. You don't see Beverly Beach Dorit. You don't see these wedding dresses she was
Right.
trying to do. The
Right.
restaurant where she interior decorated the corner is non-existent. So again, I completely at the end of the day, I'm also a viewer. I completely understand why people are questioning their
Right.
situation because
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also interesting, like they've been separated and there's no, she basically said on Watch What Happens Live, like, I don't know if we'll ever get divorced. And that kind of adds, I mean, I have never been married, but I understand that it's obviously a very complicated thing to untangle the financial aspect of it, especially. Um, but it's interesting, and I again, I do not believe that it's fake for the show. I believe they are genuinely separated. I believe that he genuinely has an addiction to alcohol. I mean, like he's totally transformed. His body is totally transformed. He looks like a different person now. So it's like he's clearly made a huge change in his life for a reason. Um, and she has real feelings too. Like I don't think that Dorit's not that great of an actress where she can make all this stuff up. You know what I mean? Like it's like
right.
she's being honest with us, at least as it pertains to this separation, in my opinion.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And listen, my hope, and this is me being completely honest, my hope is that PK is able to deal with his sobriety in a way that is healthy to
Yeah,
him,
me too.
and to know that it's being called out this season, the way it's being called out. I feel bad for him because it's depending on where he's at in his recovery. It's just it's I'm sure it's tough for him to like live
Yeah, yeah, but I
with
also
that.
think that like the way that he was talking to Dorit about how like sort of the evolving power dynamics in their marriage, about how like he basically can't handle the fact that she's the star and she's the moneymaker for their family now.
Mhm.
I lost some respect for PK in that regard because I'm like, are you that like it just feels kind of small of him to like not be able to handle his wife being the breadwinner basically. And it's a classic story of housewives, clearly. That happens so often. Um, I don't know, but he
It
was
does,
very,
and
yeah,
no, no. What I will add to that is, I I think what happened is this man invested a lot of money in Dorit being a housewife,
mm,
right? From because again, she tells the story that she didn't want to join the show, and he made her take the casting interview, and
yeah,
really, gave her the confidence to be like, no, let's do it. And again, I'm not blaming Dorit by any means, right? I think I think the reason why he can't handle it is because he put so much money up front for her to be a housewife that he has nothing to show for it, and she does. And I think it sucks for him. Not saying it's right or wrong, but I
yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
I think that's what we're witnessing.
She's come out on top. Yeah, for sure. So the last thing I want to ask you about
Right.
Carlos, about it's Beverly Hills, and you described yourself recently as a teddy bear. And teddy
Yes.
bears are apparently the name of Teddi Mellencamp fans. That's news to me, but that is apparently the fan base's name. Um, and actually, you made kind of a splash the first time you were on my show, or the last time you were on my show was when you kind of made a case for bringing Teddi back to Beverly Hills. And I actually you kind of convinced me in a way that like that she's a different place in her life, blah blah blah. And since then, they're getting divorced. There's the cheating scandal. It's kind of the most interesting that's happened since we've been introduced to her. Do you feel even more strong that she should be on the show now?
Yes.
Obvious
I am
answer.
a
Yeah.
teddy. I'm a teddy bear. I need Teddy back on my screen.
Mm.
I What makes me so upset when it comes to Teddi Mellencamp's reputation on social media is the fact that I think that's a a large reason why conversations aren't happening. The woman, her and Tamra, honestly, literally, look at the TV film category. They have the number one podcast.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Clearly, they have a fan base. You have two women. If you base them on social media reputation, you would think that they're the two most hated women in the world.
Right.
They have a fucking hit podcast. I want her back on Beverly Hills. If she can't come back on Beverly Hills, bring her to the OC. Like I don't know what else to do anymore.
Mm.
She was a storyline in this most recent episode.
Well, that was
And
I
the best,
thought. Yeah.
yeah,
Continue.
no, I was gonna say, and the best part was Garcelle got this one. The best part was when
Yeah.
Garcelle said,
Uh-huh.
"Well, I'm sure Teddy's gonna love this." Us talking about her. Yes,
That was a good moment for Garcelle. And it's funny because she does keep coming up, and part of it's because she's best friends with Kyle. Part of it is like I actually think that the Teddy factor in the Dorit and Kyle thing is actually really interesting. Like I hadn't really thought about how that sort of complicates it. Um, but yeah, and Garcelle viscerally does not like her, which like I think some people actually, and some people sort of read that as Garcelle playing to the fans a little bit, like in terms of like she knows the fans don't like her, and that will be a popular moment. But I think that she genuinely doesn't like her. Um, but yeah, I think that she is clearly such a divisive, like sort of lightning rod person, and that makes for good chatter, for good reality TV. And I personally like don't like love watching her, but I'd be so curious to see if my feelings about that would change. You know what I mean? Like I'm open
it
to the
will.
idea. Yeah, I'm open to the idea that like I could almost, and maybe I would just hate to love watching her. You know what I mean? Or love to hate watching her. And maybe that's enough.
This the thing. This the thing. And boy, oh boy, I'm gonna get red for this, and I don't care.
Okay.
Teddi Mellencamp is the Tamara Judge of Beverly Hills.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like she's somebody that has the ability to really just make conversations happen, make people uncomfortable by having real conversations, calling people out, being unlikable to the fans on social media. Camera does on OC, and I just think Teddy has the ability to bring some. The thing that Beverly Hills needs to me, it needs a lightning rod. It's a little
Yeah, it does.
quiet.
Yeah,
A little,
I agree. I agree with
it's a
you.
little quiet.
Ever
It's a
since
little,
Rena left. Yeah.
yeah, it's a little like matinee. You know, it's a little Kennedy Center honors. You know,
Not
it's
a
a
li-
little,
listen.
you know,
Oh my God.
it's a
Not
little
a little
quiet.
matinee.
You know, it's a matinee. It's 3 p.m. and the kids are like,
That's really funny.
I need some sparks. I need some 4th of July on in Beverly Hills. And Teddi Mellencamp is the answer. And there you have it.
Wow. Do we dare go out on that note? Is that how we end the podcast?
Carlos King says dot dot dot.
Carlos King gets
And
the
I
people talking. Say what you want. Yep. Uh-huh.
and I mean and the best part, Gibson, I mean every fucking word.
On that note, Carlos, plug the podcast, plug what you want before we sign off. I so appreciate you being here. Always the best chats.
Thank you, Gibson. Reality with the King, my podcast. You can find wherever you get your podcast. We drop 2 episodes a week, Tuesday and Thursdays. And you can follow me all on social media at the Carlos King _.
Follow, listen. As you can tell, Carlos says what he means, and we appreciate him for it. Carlos, thanks for doing this. I'm sure we'll be called to the mics together sometime soon again.
I see you, Gibson.
Bye. I want to gab.